Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Evermore podcast. It's your post-match review. It is a good evening unless you're an Arsenal fan, Mark. What we have beat Arsenal 2-0 at St James's Park. We're going to get right into it in a minute, mate. But what a fucking game that was, mate. I enjoyed it immensely. What about you?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, I mean, bang at it from minute one, weren't they? And just never let Arsenal in. That was just a brilliant performance.
What a way to sign off at St James's Park for the lads, honestly, mate. I can't wait to talk about this one. Unbelievable game that was, mate. Possibly one of the best ones we've done yet for a post-match. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get stuck in, guys. We're live tonight. Please jump in the comments. Let us know what you think about the game. If you're at the game, if you're on your way home, if you watch it on the TV, what you thought. We loved it. We're going to get stuck in a minute. And if you haven't already, please click that like and subscribe button. We've had loads of new subscribers, so welcome on board. Happy to have you here. We're looking to try and break the 300 mark. We're on about 289, I think it is. So please help us get over that 300 as soon as we can. And then we'll keep pushing and pushing. It really helps the channel grow. So without further ado, Mark, let's get stuck in. Let's have a look at the lineup. Obviously, there were some changes from the debacle at Manchester City, which, yes, we did say it was Manchester City. The main man, Callum Wilson, was back wearing the captain's armband. Obviously, we had Cher coming back in for Lascelles, which was great to see. Longstaff continued in midfield, which was a surprise for some people, mate. And outside of that, it was relatively unchanged. We thought Trippier would start, but he didn't. So he stuck with Emil Kraft. And, mate, let's just get stuck right into this, Mark. So from minute one, I mean, let's talk about before the lads even kicked the ball, that atmosphere, mate, war flags. What was that about? Oh, my God.
I mean, they're just going out of their way to outdo themselves every week now, don't they? That was just, you won't see anything better in England. It was just breathtaking. There's no other word. It was absolutely sensational.
It was stunning. I mean, the last time I was in awe at one of those displays, I was at the game against Liverpool, where, you know, in our intro video, where the flag rose up through the Leazes end, watching that on the TV and standing back and seeing it from that kind of aerial shot. It was just incredible, the whole ground. I mean, I think Alex Hurst, shout out to Alex from True Faith, he tweeted, you know, when they all started talking about sports washing, remember we did this when we were 14, which I thought was a brilliant tweet, because, you know, a lot of the shithouses and the salty fans will say, oh, well, you're only there because of the money, blah, blah, blah. But you see that kind of performance by war flags and the fans, everybody in unison, holding up them flags, the Blue Star, United. I mean, you know, they said it on Sky Sports before the game. I heard Talk Sport talking about the atmosphere. You know, these young Arsenal players, we're going to get into this in a minute, Mark, but these young Arsenal players would have felt nothing like that, would they? Even the ones who have played for England, you know, haven't seen anything like they've seen tonight, mate.
It's just totally different. And you get certain things in England, you know, you get the pre-game things at places like Anfield and things, but this was just, it was overwhelming, I guess, and I said this to a guy I work with today who's an Arsenal fan. It says it'll be a test of those young players to see whether they can actually cope in an environment that is quite testing, and with that atmosphere pre-game, for a young player going into something like that, yes, they're playing in the Premier League, they should be able to cope, but it does take your breath away, even as an away player. It's something completely different. It's absolutely brilliant, and I really think that will have had somewhat of an effect, but then not as much as the performance, because just like I say, from minute one, Newcastle were at it. The players were just on another level tonight. That's a sign of things to come. The progress will be quick.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, just a couple of players to single out in the first half even, and what a difference it makes. You know, no disrespect to Chris Wood. He's worked hard. We've talked about him a lot on Evermore. You know, all the fans have talked about, you know, you either think he's a hard grafter, he puts a shift in, or you think he's shite or whatever it is. But the difference a bang at it Callum Wilson made tonight, Mark, was just, he was electric. He was on the shoulder. I mean, Arteta took a big risk playing those centre halves who were kind of pieced together with glass. I did an Arsenal podcast as we tweeted out on the page prior to the game, and they were very worried about what centre halves they were going to have fit, and they were saying, "Oh, we hope we'll have White and Gabriel back and everything else." But they must have been shitting their pants in that first few minutes when Wilson made those runs, because he just exposed them, didn't he? And then Saint-Maximin was at it as well. With the oh God, what's the fullback called? I forgot his bloody name now from Arsenal. Is it Thomas? Is it Thomas Stewart? Tomiyasu, sorry. Terrible pronunciation by me, but he got fucking run ragged by Saint-Maximin to the fact that he had to get taken off. Mate, I mean, our big players really showed up tonight, didn't they? Bruno, Wilson, ASM, Joe Linton, they all showed up tonight, mate.
Yeah, completely. And that is, it's probably as good a game as I've seen Saint-Maximin have since the Everton game. I'd shout to Sean Longstaff tonight, who I thought was brilliant. That is the best game I've seen him have in a long time. He looked somewhere near back to his best. That the ball through for the second goal, where he just dings it through to Wilson, is sublime. And just there was no poor performance from anybody tonight. They were all 7s, 8s, 9s tonight. That was just even Kraft, who I thought was quiet. He did his job, and sort of showed that even with Trippier not being back there, he's a very, very adequate replacement for him at the moment against some pretty good wide players that Arsenal have.
Yeah, I think the Arsenal players, I mean, I think I've seen some Arsenal fans talk about this and tweet about this, that they feel that squad's just completely out of steam, that they've burnt themselves out, that they've kind of, shot their load, so to speak. I think it showed against Spurs, certainly tonight. I mean, we all knew, as Newcastle fans, we all knew that out of the 2 games that we had left to play, this was going to be the game that the lads stood up, puffed their chests out and really went for it. Under the lights of St James's Park on a Monday night, war flags flying, the fans bouncing, 52,000 attendance. They want to send the fans home this summer with something to be excited about. And there's a lot of players on that pitch, I think, who are playing for the future as well, Mark. I think Longstaff's a great shout. Sean's such a frustrating player at times because he's been so good previously and we know what he was capable of. He had that bad injury. Obviously, Rafa went. He was bruised, completely and utterly bruised. It's took a long time, I think, for Eddie Howe to even try to get him unbruised, so to speak. But I mean, Sean was sensational tonight. He was everywhere. He was breaking the play up. Do you know what the thing I loved about him the most tonight? He looked composed. He wasn't panicking on the ball, was he, mate? He looked calmer than he's looked for months, really.
Yeah, he did. He wanted to get involved. His passing percentage was high tonight, as was everybody's. I mean, you look at the stats from tonight, Newcastle, I mean, the percentage of possession dropped second half, but they didn't need to keep up quite that much pressure. I mean, the first half, it was 69-70% possession, 181 passes to 60 at half time. When was the last time we saw a Newcastle side completely dominate a game like that against one of the big teams?
Yeah, the top five, top 6 teams. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And they came out with a plan. They targeted the right areas, and it worked. An absolute treat. That press, it said from minute one, from particularly the likes of Joe Linton and Bruno, it had them rattled. Ramsdale looked just shaky as hell. He looked like he was going to have a mistake in him. No, he didn't in the end, but he looked nervous. But then the rest of that back four looked nervous, and I think you touched on it before. Those 2 centre backs were held together with sort of tape, and they were great earlier in the season, but they've just been. They've been crocked a little bit recently, and I think maybe bringing them both back in that game was probably not the right decision. But I don't think whoever you play there, they were going to be in for a hell of a night tonight.
I think they certainly were. I mean, it's just brilliant to see Wilson, back doing what he does best. He just, like you say, Mark, he looks so up for it. And when Wilson's up for it like that, it's such a shame for Callum Wilson. He's 30 years old now. but he's such a good striker and such a good goal scorer. He's such a threat, isn't he? If you could have him fit for 75% of the season, he's 20 plus goals for me. He's 20 plus goals a season, no shadow of a doubt. He's in every England squad going in my eyes as well, if he was fit for 75% of the season. But he just has those injury problems. I really hope that whatever happens in the summer, that, if we bring another striker in, which looks like we're going to, loads of names being linked, that, we can manage Wilson's fitness, much better, while we'll have a better kind of backup for him. Because there'll be games where Wilson needs to be rested, and there'll be games where you need him, and I think a game like tonight is a great game where you need Callum Wilson, because he's got that confidence, that arrogance, hasn't he, that he just shoves these defenders around. He doesn't give a fuck about them, does he? And when he's like that, mate, I just smile from ear to ear. Absolutely fantastic. Even Allan, good to see you in the comments, mate. Yeah, absolutely, mate. It was a great game. We've been looking forward to doing this as well, mate. Absolutely sensational. But yeah, mate, just a bit on Callum Wilson before moving to midfield again, Mark. I'm just so happy to see him back. I mean, if we can have him fit next season, which is a huge if, you put better players in that squad. Because let's be honest, likes of Miggy, will he still be here? Likes of Sean, will he still be here? Will there be better quality in there? What could Wilson do with better quality around him, mate?
Yeah, completely. I mean, I thought Miggy had a good game tonight. There were a few touches first half that were heavy and typical of him. And
better in the second half. He grew in the second half, I thought. Yeah,
absolutely. The beautiful dive in the second half as well, going past Xhaka. I thought that was brilliant.
The daily Xhaka.
There were some comments on Arsenal's Twitter feed like that was brilliant. But is that his last game at St James's Park? It could very well be, and he's acquitted himself really well tonight. I think you were absolutely right. If you put a little bit more quality down that side as well, you've got Saint-Maximin down one side, somebody with a little bit better quality the other side of Wilson, and just how many goals is he likely to score? We've seen him score a hatful, and if he can stay fit, and that's the big if with him. But if you've got somebody to push him, and if you've got somebody to take that role over and not change too much, so the Wood is completely different. If you've got somebody to take over and give him, lighten that workload a little bit for him, then he could last you 75, 80, 90% of the season and score you 20 odd goals.
Absolutely, but which again, you can't put a price on that, can you? Larry's in the comments, even Larry. Yeah, it certainly was an eventful game, mate. St James's was a fortress. Yeah, you're right, mate. All the lads were absolutely sensational, as Mark says. They were all kind of 7, 8s, 9s. We've got Steve in the comments. Even Steve, yeah, excellent, mate. Fans were amazing. The flags were unbelievable, mate. You're totally right. And as we said there at the start of the show, we're only 14s and nothing to play for. Apparently, I did get a text message off our mate Phil, the Leeds fan. They said, "I hope you do this at the weekend." And I said, I hate to say it, mate, but it'll probably be flip-flops on at the weekend. But I hope I'm wrong for Phil's sake. It would do Leeds a favour. But listen, Mark, just going into midfield, you mentioned the two lads before. The blonde ambition in midfield that we had between Bruno and Joe Linton. I mean, oh my God, what a game those two had. Bruno in particular, just sensational. Walking around with even the goal, he's just like, nah, it's me. Right, okay, like with a goal, he's just got so much self-confidence, but he wants the ball all the time. But what I loved about him as well was some real vintage shithousery from him. He was kneeing players, he was shoulder charging young lads on their arse, and he was just kind of swaggering around the pitch as if, no, this is my house. You fuck off, Arsenal players. And I love having a player like that. I cannot believe we have a player that good, mate. I'm buzzing by it.
Well, first off, let's start with the hair. I mean, they are a throwback to 1994 Romania, aren't they? I mean,
it's like a razor, isn't it?
Honestly,
a razor in midfield.
It's 94 World Cup where Romania turned up and they all had bleached blonde hair, so they're that's a bit of a throwback, but. Yeah, I mean, he was, again, how many times have we said this since he signed? He was head and shoulders above everybody else on the field, and everybody else in the Newcastle side had a good game, but he was still another level above. Is there an element of here's what you could have signed for Arsenal?
I think possibly. I think Arsenal fans will be thinking that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they from believe they were shopping around and decided not to. So is that a big two fingers up and say, well, I've joined a better project now. Here, have one. But he was absolutely sensational. At every point, he's getting involved, leading the charge, whether it's with the ball or pressing to win the ball back. His overall play much higher up the field, as every Newcastle midfield. They were much higher up, not allowing anybody to settle. It was just that, they were a joy to watch tonight.
Absolutely. Larry saying the tackle Bruno did to Martinelli, it's absolutely amazing, mate. He does them tackles, and I sometimes still panic because I'm still thinking of the shit players we've had in the past that give away pens and free kicks, and you forget that he's actually really brilliant at doing that, and you think, oh, that's all right now. It's okay. It's Bruno. He knows what he's doing, but he's just, what a player. Like I say, when you've got players like that in your squad, I mean, what I loved as well, even when I had throw-ins, I was watching Maxi Targett, and Trippier was in his ear talking to him, telling them what to do, and it's another level from Bruce Ball and all the shit that we had at the start of the season where everyone was down, everyone was scared, nervous to make a mistake against a team like Arsenal. You see the confidence of these players, and you just think, what could we be next season with another 4 or 5 quality additions? Which, let's be honest with you, no matter what the talk says, there's going to be 4 or 5 quality additions, Mark, isn't there? What can that Newcastle United team do to a top 5 or 6 team next season? With those players in.
It's like we've said for ages that the talk of Newcastle fans just want to be in the Champions League. No, they want competitiveness. Well, they've got it, absolutely got it in spades in that side now, and that's led from the coaches down, because the job, and I can't go on enough about how good a job Eddie Howe has done. I've just seen that comment about Mike Williamson in the comments.
Larry. Hey, he got Gateshead promoted, Larry. Come on,
exactly.
give Mike some praise, mate. He's done well.
But no, the job Eddie Howe has done has been just nothing short of sensational, and I still have my call out for him to be manager of the season, because if Klopp wins the quadruple, you go, fair enough. I kind of see that, but the turnaround from Newcastle's perspective, 5 points after 14 games, no win in that period of time. It was a mess. It was going in one direction, and the fact that he's turned those players around that were so bad under Bruce, because they had no direction, they had no leader, they had no coach, and he's turned them around, and he's added those bits and pieces to it, and they've just jumped huge levels. They're up to 12th now in the table. Could very well finish in the top half at this rate. So
unbelievable, isn't it? It's unbelievable.
It's some turnaround, but go back to the performance tonight. Those 3 in midfield in particular was just I'm blown away. That Longstaff was the one, I think, that really, as much as the other 2 were the better on than I think just the increase in the level of performance from Longstaff was just. There's another sign that things are going in the right direction for the players that even weren't doing anything.
Yeah, just on Sean. I mean, I'm a massive fan of Sean. I know you are as well. We want the lads to do well. Him and Matty. I'd love nothing better than him and Matty to kick on and be unbelievable players, play for England, everything else. But he's drawn a lot of kind of polarization, hasn't he, as Sean, in the fan base. Do you think he's done enough tonight to show Eddie Howe that he warrants another contract? I know there's been talk about him wanting more game time. Realistically, Shelvey was out tonight. If Shelvey's fit, he doesn't play. If we sign another midfielder, I mean, I was looking at that midfield as good as he was, and I just kept having my dream of thinking, could you imagine James Ward-Prowse in there with Bruno and Joe Litton? I kept thinking, oh my God. But if we sign another midfielder, which we could easily do, is Sean going to hang around and be 4th, 5th, 6th choice midfielder, or is he going to move on a free and get more game time, mate? What do you think after that performance tonight?
I think if he drops that far down the pecking order, then yes, I think he'll probably want to move away. But he showed tonight that he can do it. Again,
against the top tied.
Yeah, he's got it in his locker. We know that. We've seen it, and it needs to be coached back into him. And maybe he just took a little bit longer than some of the others to get really to speed with Eddie Howe's coaching and take on board and lose some of those Bruceisms that he inherited, because that destroyed what was a very good player for so long. So I think certainly if you're a Newcastle fan, I guess in that coaching thing. You want to keep him around, especially after a performance like tonight. But I guess it depends on who comes in.
Yeah.
Is it such an emergency need then to have somebody in that position, or can you then go, actually, we've got 4 that can play very well in that midfield 3? Do we prioritize elsewhere? Yes, striker is going to be absolute priority, but then do you focus on potentially other areas, sort of that right side forward,
maybe keeper, maybe as well. Keeper, yeah.
And obviously Henderson's been heavily linked again today, so that's a possibility. But then you look at again Dubravka. I mean, he didn't have an awful lot to do tonight, but what he did well. So I think there's a lot of faith from Eddie Howe in Dubravka, but is he possibly the stopgap to the next level? So when you progress next season and then you move on to another goalkeeper to take you to another, I don't know. And that's a different story, for a different conversation for another time. But certainly when looking at that midfield, I think Longstaff has shown that they don't necessarily need to completely throw him away now and move on. There is a player there. We know that.
I think there's one player definitely who's played his last game, I think, was Dwight Gale. I think that's why Eddie Howe gave him that little cameo at the end, maybe to get himself a goal to sign off with. He did get himself in a bit of a position. He looked like he was up for getting a goal. Probably the most up for getting a goal I've seen him all season, to be fair to him. But I don't think Dwight Gale will be in a black and white shirt next season. He's done well for us. I think in that championship season, you've got to give him his respect. He was outstanding. We wouldn't have went up without Dwight Gale. But I think when you look at a lot of the other players there as well, guys who didn't even get a game, your Matt Ritchies, obviously Miggy is kind of, a little bit of that. Even Murphy, is Murphy going to have a future? So, there's a lot of players in that squad that might not be there come kick off next season, and you have to improve on the quality and the depth of the squad as well, as you rightly said, mate. But going back to that midfield, you're right. I mean, Willock's been brilliant. Since Eddie Howe got him back playing, Shelby's been brilliant. For me, Shelby's the one. As much as he's been class, there's no doubt about that, right? And when him and Bruno have been next to each other, it's been unbelievable. The silk and the quality on the ball. But you're always wondering with Shelby, how long is that going to last? And I'm always wondering, is a Shelby replacement, on the cards in the summer if they can get a better player? Larry's back in the comments there, so it really depends on who we bring in during the summer. Like you said, perhaps they might stick around until January next season. Yeah, you never know what might happen to the Longstaffs. I mean, there's obviously the homegrown player rule, Mark, as well, isn't there, with the Longstaffs? So that's an element too, isn't it? Because we kept Dummy on, and I love Dummy. Dummy's class. He's Newcastle through and through. But does Dummy really offer more to the squad than Sean Longstaff does? I don't think he does.
No, I think in terms of homegrown, you've got to have, is it 8? I think you've got to have 8 players trained in England for the Premier League squad. It's only when you get to the Champions League, I think you've got to have so many that are, you've got to have so many properly homegrown at the club players. So that's probably a couple of years ago, years away even.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So I think he certainly gives you a little bit more than Dummett does. Dummett can cover the couple of positions, can't he?
True.
Okay.
But Sean's kind of just a midfielder, and he can't really go wide or anything.
Doesn't really. Yeah. He gives you a couple of sort of central. He can play that. I mean, today he was that right side mostly. He was up and down that sort of right side of that central midfield area. So he can do both. But I think, if I'm looking at it, I want to keep him around. I'm very aware that there's squad space issues though, because you're over-egged already. The fact of Lewis and Hayden not being there. Now, I know they're going to move on in the summer as a rookie.
I think so. Yeah, to say it better. And they'll be a good player. They'll be good players for some people. Both Hayden. Yeah, you're very welcome, Ryan. You're very welcome, mate. It's not normally like us to do anybody a favour, to be honest with you. Arsenal can't fight. Certainly not on the exception what we saw tonight. The evidence tonight that were dreadful. I mean, if I'm an Arsenal fan, I'd be devastated. I think Luke's a Spurs fan as well. Absolutely, mate. 100%. We're happy that we've done you guys a favour. And Ash is saying even at 0-0, I was sitting there thinking I'm so proud regardless. Yeah, mate, 100%, Ash. I totally agree with that, mate. If we look at the season, as a whole, I know we're going to do a proper podcast on this, Mark, aren't we? So stay tuned and subscribe, guys, if you haven't already. But I just think the whole season as a whole from when Eddie Howe came in.
I was a bit slow there. Sorry about that.
You're a bit slow there. That's okay. Mate. So from when Eddie Howe came in, I think the evolution of the club, I know we've done a video on it already, but the evolution of the players' mentality, and what he's got out of them players, he's probably saved the owners, 50, 60 million quid in about 3 or 4 positions, because he's turned Joe Linton from a shit striker to a brilliant midfielder. And you're looking now thinking, well, I've got Bruno, I've got Joe, and then it's anybody else in and around them. That's what I've got. He's looking at, even Kraft, as you said, Kraft can do cover for Trippier. I would never thought I would have said that in a million years, a few months ago. I was ready to drive Kraft to the airport, but you look at him now, and he's ample cover for Trippier. Ample cover. Trippier's the main man, of course, but Kraft can come and do a job, so.
Absolutely right. If you talk about money saved, you think 40 million was laid out on Joe Linton, you were probably going to lose more than half of that to sell him on as a striker. You'd be lucky to get 10 or 15 million from him.
Yeah.
So to be able to then save that, move that into midfield and save yourself, then probably spending another 30 million on a player that gives you that level of performance is huge. You're right. Emil Kraft, he's probably not going to play an awful lot next season if Trippier is fit, but he gives you really good backup now. You know that he can do a job in that position. He can do a job at right centre back if you're really pushed. You don't want him to, but he could do something there. If you ever wanted to play a 3, he can play that right side of that as well. I don't think that will happen, but
no, he's got a lot better going forward as well. To be honest, so you've got to give him the credit on that one as well. But got a cracking comment there from Ash. God, I don't know if I could cope with that, Ash. To be fair, Bruno, Joe Linton, Paqueta, or Phillips next season in midfield would be fire. My God, would it not be? Could you imagine the salt and pepper coming from all the other fan base if that was our midfield next season? They're already kicking off. They were spent 90 million quid in January. Could you imagine getting all Emlon in? Fucking hell. The internet would blow up.
Sorry, if Leeds go down, that supposedly Phillips has a release clause, doesn't he? So there's the potential you get him cheaper than. I mean, if Leeds stay up, I think it's really difficult to
30 million quid. They said 30 million.
Yeah, something like that. If they stay in the Premier League, though, I think that you're probably looking at double or more for Phillips to get him out. But I think if they go down, that's a lot easier conversation to have. But there will be teams after him. Paqueta again. I mean, he gets linked every other day now, so that's one that probably got a little bit of movement in it.
Even Eddie was talking about it. Eddie Howe was talking about the relationship Bruno has with him, because it's obviously come in the media quite a lot, to be fair. So I think there is a little bit of weight behind that. Yeah, Larry. See, do you know what, Larry?
Kieran Clark.
But whenever Kieran Clark comes back to Tyneside as one of the old kind of retired players, that'll be what we're saying. And we'll go, hey, Harry, Kieran, thank fuck you got sent off against Norwich, mate. Absolutely brilliant. You know what I mean? Because Joe Linton would never have done what he did without that. So 25 million for Phillips, Ash, mate, that's an absolute snip, isn't it? I mean, speaking of snips, mate.
I'd throw the Burnley game to get Phillips for cheap. Do you know what?
I love it.
You would never do it, but you can understand. No, we can save ourselves 30, 40 million here. Yeah, let's just put out a couple of reserve.
I tell you what, that's a football manager expert right there, mate, isn't it? He knows how to play the game, does Ash? He's definitely got some skill at football manager. But just talking about snips, mate, and he does go under the radar quite a bit, which is surprising given the fact he's nearly as tall as the stadium itself. But Dan Burn again, 13 million quid for a centre half that is he's just such a commanding presence, man. Like, since he's gone in there with Shaw, mate, he's just been superb, man. He eats headers for fun, doesn't he? Like, he eats headers for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day. It's just unbelievable.
Let's just remember that when we did like a review of the transfer window, Brighton fans were quite quick to come back and say, we don't want him anymore. We're happy to let him go on the cheap because he's not going to play. They had a centre back crisis after that, and Newcastle going, we only spent how much on him? It was just, you look at it and you've got Kieran Trippier and Dan Burn for 25 million. Granted, you then spend 25 million on a plank of wood, but you've got those two players who have just been brilliant, and even Trippier off the field has been worth the money that you paid. Like you said before, you touched on that coaching from the sideline that he does. That is an experienced player putting in the kind of work that shows he's not just coming for the money. He is well invested in this.
Mate, 100%. I mean, I think they've just recruited so smart, and the right characters has been said several times. I think we'll have the same Langley in goal that Ash has talked about. You're going to pick the side, Ash. I think you make sure we lose that game, mate. But hello to you too, Blake. Thanks for joining in, mate. Subscribe if you haven't already, bud. But yeah, I just think looking at the right characters as well, mate. There's a comment there. Larry's chucked in about Rafinha as well. Rafinha's a cracking player. Even his character, like when the girl with the gigantic nose was stealing the ball, which, by the way, I saw the funniest tweet ever when somebody said she can smell a Sunday dinner on Thursday. It was the funniest thing I've seen like in months. I was pissing myself laughing. But Rafinha was over shouting for the ball, wanting it back, and that's the kind of character I like to see. You know what I mean? Gives it back. We need to win this game. Yeah. Even though it was against a much more superior side. So Rafinha would be a great signing for me. I honestly think Miggy's played his last game, as you said to me, Mark, before we come on. I think Miggy's done there. I don't think he'll keep Miggy next season as much as he grafts. I mean, to be honest with you, in the first half, if his brain was as quick as his feet, we probably would have been 1-0 up when he chased down Ramsdale. But
there was a moment later on as well where the ball came to on his right foot, and you were just begging him, even just swing your standing foot at it swing your wrong foot at it, because
just
if
do
you
something,
catch it. And we've seen it with other. If you catch it sweetly, that was probably going to trouble Ramsdale. And his first thought at all points is to get it on his left foot, and it does hamper him massively. And I just think, he's done a very, very good job tonight. And again, he would easily get a 7 out of 10 for tonight.
Absolutely.
But I just think you need somebody down that side that's just going to give you a little bit more quality.
I think so. I mean, you could maybe keep Miggy for squad depth. Maybe if Eddie Howe works him a little bit more. You know what I mean? You might get some more quality out of him like you did with Joe and Kraft. So Ash is there saying, I love going back to seeing the salty pundits. May God, we love seeing that as well. It's absolutely superb. Well, the comments there, Newcastle can buy quality players 4, 5, 6, very good. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, we're fantastic tonight. Larry's saying, I just don't know if we could attract Rafinha. Yeah, I suppose if they do come back for him, because he came from Bayern, didn't he? To Leeds, he went from Bayern to Leeds, did he not? Is that where they signed him from, Rafinha?
You're asking me now, aren't you?
I'm asking you because you're the stat man. You look that up while we're looking up.
I should know that.
Miggy plays so well with Bruno. You're right, Ash. Miggy's got good movement, but he's not got the brain. Could you imagine a player with the brain as well that can make the smart runs? I mean, you saw that tonight with Wilson, didn't you, Mark? When Bruno saw that run. The ball was there, wasn't it? 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
When Wilson's making them smart runs, it was unbelievable. I heard rumours of is it Dan Juma being linked? Yeah, in terms of wingers. Even Paul's in the comments. We were brilliant tonight from the off, mate. 100%. Paul, we were unbelievable, mate.
4, 5,
that sounds like a
get away with
it.
That sounds like the type of thing Jurgen Klopp would try and do with his extra substitutes and things. Let's just bring on 4 at once. We're not taking anybody off.
And then complain that he hasn't got enough players, probably,
exactly.
Even if he had an extra man on the pitch as well, to be honest with you. So that's an interesting comment by Paul as well, isn't it? I'd rather
Rafinha came from... Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, mate.
Wow.
Yeah, Paul said he'd rather have Miggy than Maxi. See, on the evidence of tonight, you wouldn't. But, to be fair, Paul, Maxi has, less consistent games, I think. So you probably got a fair point. What you said, mate?
He gives you more quality, but he has been really inconsistent over the last few weeks. But I was going to come back to Rafinha. He came from Rennes in France. He was at Sporting beforehand, so not quite as high as Bayern. But
quite, I've seen the Bayern links before, though. Yeah, I've seen the buy links before. Yeah, you're right. Ash Maxi was fantastic tonight. That cut inside, it was quite funny because I tried to say to the wife and she just kind of ignored me. I said, that's what he needs to do every week. I forgot that she doesn't give a shit about football. I went, that's what he needs to do every week. If he does that every week, and she just kind of looked at me and turned away and walked off as if I don't care. Because I was obviously very excited and I just wanted Maxi to do it every single week. But yeah, it's when he does that, Mark, as well on Maxi. It's when he does that. You remember how good he is, isn't it? When he just turns a guy inside and out. That I think Gary Neville said, which was brilliant at half time. he just said, I would have hated to have played against a guy like that. And I had flashbacks of Ginola flipping him inside out in that 5-0 game when he went flying off the pitch. Ginola was just having his pants down all game. And he probably had flashbacks of that himself. He probably thought, I've been where that poor lad's been. I've been destroyed by a French winger at St. James's Park, and it's not nice. But the thing with Maxi, I mean, the commentators mentioned it, mate. We've mentioned it on Evermore, last week when we were talking about Maxi. Can you see him being here next season, mate? I personally can. I think he will be. Unless we sign better. But who is better? Is Rafinha better than Saint-Maximin, mate?
You've got to remember Rafinha's probably going to play out wide on the right rather than the left. He's very much the left, wanting to play left-hand side. It would be if you were going to bring in somebody like Rafael Leao or somebody like that who's wanting to play down that left-hand side and cut in. Personally, I think Maxi stays unless... like you say, unless there is an absolute worldie to come in and take his place, I don't think he's moving on. I think you're right, actually, Ash. I think you bang on. I think he gets a season, and then you take it from there. If he has a world-class season because you go back to his interview,
he's got better players around him.
If he suddenly provides 10 or 15 assists, you go, maybe he was right after all.
Yeah, maybe he was right after all. That's a hell of a claim, Ash. I really hope you're right, mate. I mean, that would be unbelievable if Eddie Howe won the Premier League. But it's an interesting one, isn't it? I think going back to the Wilson point as well, mate.
You were right. Ash does play FM. There you go.
See, I could tell he was a football manager, man. Well done, Ash. But I think going back to what Maxi said, without opening that kind of worms again. When you saw Wilson tonight, he kind of saw his point. He kind of did see his point a bit that, that's Callum Wilson, not even fully fit, really, let's be honest, right? And you think yourself, a fully fit Callum Wilson every week or somebody equal or better, you kind of got a point, like when you have that outlet, you know what I mean? We're a different side. I mean, I don't think we win that game convincingly tonight if Wood starts. That sounds horrible, Wood, but I think we would have given Arsenal more of a chance to get into that game, I think, than we did.
I think he'd bang because he doesn't run it. He doesn't make those runs behind the centre backs. I mean, you saw that early on. I mean, what was it? 7 minutes in, Ben White gets booked for bringing down Wilson, just running down the left-hand side of the box. That doesn't happen with Wood. He works hard. He's done a job, but he's not going to give you those runs into the channels. He's not going to make those little darting movements that he makes in the box. He just gives you a different. It comes back to quality, a different level to what Wood gives you. It's a completely different style, but he suits the way Saint-Maximin plays. He very much suits the way that the ASM wants to play. He wants to feed him.
He wants that runner just darting in the centre, doesn't he? When he pulls out wide and he can just put a ball in.
I hadn't seen too much comment on it as well, but just credit the ball that Maxi plays down that left hand side of Joe Linton for the goal as well, because there was a point in which you think Maxi has the ability to run at anybody. He gets the ball in the halfway line. There's plenty of space for him to run into, and he didn't. Am I still here?
Oh. That you've got a bit New World Order, mate. Unless it's my broadband, I think you've got a little bit. I think you've paused for a bit static there, mate. I don't know if it's you or me, but yeah, I'm just looking at some of the comments there. We've got Maxi 100% gets one more season. Looking at what Paul says, pre-season is crucial, mate. You're absolutely right, Paul. I think pre-season is crucial. Are you back, Mark? You went a bit wobbly there, mate. Are you back?
I think I'm back.
Yeah, you are back, mate. I think. Yeah. So Ash is saying. Is that Unai Simon is the goalie? Sign on FIFA.
Can't disagree with that one.
No, but Mark's the goalkeeper and king. So Wilson, if he could stay fit, you're right, Ash. We wouldn't need a striker, mate. I mean, God, I just wish Callum Wilson was 2 or 3 years younger. My God, would have probably the best striker in the league there. Maxi's looking better. Do you know? It's interesting. He is passing more. I think after that interview, I think he started to pass a bit more. It's quite noticeable, isn't it? Even against City, he put that great ball in that Wood should have buried, and he didn't. If that's Callum Wilson fully fit, that's a goal, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? But I think tonight he looked like he was, he was passing the ball back to Targett. Just a mention on Targett, mate. He's kind of gone under the radar as well. That's Matty Targett's last home game for us. I hope there's a lot more to come. We spoke about this prior to coming on. There's been a lot of links to is it Rodri from Atletico, isn't there? Another Brazilian. Is it Rodri?
Renan Lodi.
Oh, sorry, Lodi, beg your pardon. So, Brazilian left back from Madrid, isn't it? Atletico.
Are you just trying to sign the entire nation of Brazil now? I mean,
it looks that way. Yeah.
Newcastle have missed a trick in their kits next season if they're not going to have a Brazilian-based one, because that would sell like insane numbers.
Yeah, it would have done. It would have done. But just on Matty Targett, mate, I thought he was brilliant again tonight. I thought he just never lets you down. He's just so steady. Like he was getting involved with the attacking play as well. He was putting a good few balls across. There's been talk about, like I say, going after other left backs and talk about Villa and Newcastle maybe not being on the same page. Do you still think that deal's done, Mark? Because you were quite confident about that a few weeks ago, weren't you?
Yeah, I think. Well, the talk was that the fee was agreed. Gerald was happy for him to go on loan. He was happy for him to basically take the money at the end of the season. I know there was a report earlier that sort of came from Keith Downey that said that he was, he wasn't sure that deal was quite as solid as everybody thought, and that things were rumbling on. And I don't know whether that might be Newcastle just playing a little bit of hardball and just going, if there's nobody else interested, can we drive down the price and give us a little bit of money to go elsewhere? So sensible in Newcastle's point of view if they're gonna save a little bit of cash on it.
Yeah, but it was such a shame, as Paul says there. He's been brilliant this season and he needs to be rewarded. I think if you get him and Trippier starting next season, I think I've said this before on the show, I think that's two of the best fullbacks in the league, in my opinion. I think they're absolutely sensational, the pair of them. Ash has made an interesting comment there. The leaked white and green kit, he legit liked it enough to buy. Smart move, sell shitloads in Saudi, FFP, no issues. But we're going to talk about that on Wednesday, Ash, so make sure you come and join us at 6:30, mate. We are split as a panel. One of our team, Di, who's very against it, unfortunately can't come on, which is a shame. But we are going to give it a bit of airtime on Wednesday, just to have a chat about it and just to see what some of the issues are, mate. So make sure you tune in at 6:30 on Wednesday, mate. We'll definitely be going through that. But again, I suppose just to wrap up for tonight, Mark, really, I mean, those fans who went tonight, the atmosphere was electric from kickoff. The sang the hearts out right the way through. Never wavered. The lads obviously made it that way. The way they play, the shift to put in, that extra from the crowd, wore flags, atmosphere gives the players just more, doesn't it? I mean, we've said it before. If you're a player in the summer looking for a move, say like a Jesse Lingard, for example, who's a bit unloved at Manchester United now. He's heading out the door. Him and his brother have been very vocal about how he's feeling. If you're watching that on the TV, on your huge big 95-inch TV in your mansion in Cheshire or whatever he's doing, if he's watching that and seeing that atmosphere and seeing that image, as a player, you're not thinking, I want a piece of that. I want to go and play there. Surely you must be really looking at that, mate.
Well, all I could come back to, war flags have done the owners a massive favour here, because they don't need, like they put together like information and videos to send players, say, look at the club you're coming. They don't need to. They just need to send them a tape at the beginning of tonight's game and just go, do you want to come and be part of this? That's it. Yeah. Because there's not many players that turn around and go, no. That you look at that and go, Jesus, I want to be part of this, because you can see that the players just thrive on that. And if that's the way that it's going to be from now on for Newcastle going forward, it is going to be something special. And that atmosphere just doesn't go away. Even when Newcastle are bad, the atmosphere is still there. And you've got something very special going on now, and the way that everybody has embraced this. And it's phenomenal. And you don't need to do anything else to sell the club. You just sell the fans to that. You send this, and these are our fans. Come and play for them.
100%. Thanks a lot, Ash, for subscribing, mate. Yes, if you have time on Wednesday, mate, definitely join in the comments. We'd love to have you on board, mate. Thanks a lot. And it's interesting because these comparisons to Manchester City are always thrown around, aren't they? You look at the Etihad, or the Empty-Had as they call it now. You just can't see that happening with Newcastle United. I just think this fan just, elation will just get bigger and bigger. The more successful we get, it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. And either the stadium will have to be developed. I know there's talk about that. I think we're going to talk about that in the future ever more, aren't we? When it's a bit more solid, it's all kind of up in the air at the minute. Whether it's a new ground, whether it's extension of St James's, these are the questions you have to ask. The bigger and more successful your club becomes. But I can't see us being like Manchester City and having that hollow fan atmosphere. All I can see is that times 100. That you saw tonight times 100 is as we said. Alex said that's when you're 14th. Imagine when you're 4th, you're 3rd, you're 2nd, you're going for the title. Could you imagine what that crowd and War Flags are going to be doing then when it comes to that, mate? Bloody hell!
Just you look at winter nights. I mean, I've been to some at St James's. I go back under Pardew years. Yes, that you finished 5th. That game against Man United, and was it early January? The atmosphere in that place on a night time under the lights was something otherworldly. You throw that into Europe on a night time, and just the noise that comes out of that stadium is phenomenal. And the way that this is building, if you start to provide good entertaining football and passion from the players and the manager and the owners and everything, it's takeoff now. And
or compression, as Ash would say, and he can't spell. Don't worry, Ash, we've all been there, mate. You want to see the messages me and Mark said with the fat finger syndrome, mate. But sorry, Mark, to cut across you, you're right, mate. It's just, you can't put a value on it, as you rightly say. It's the best recruitment tool in the world, isn't it, really, for your club, is your fans.
Yes.
Absolutely, mate. So Larry's got a question there. We'll probably answer this on Wednesday as well, Larry, to be fair. I think we'll probably talk about transfer targets. We might as well talk about now, mate. I'm very surprised by the Tarkowski links. I am and I'm not, because James Tarkowski's a good player, isn't he? He's been a steady away, a good Premier League centre half for a long time. He was linked with Leicester, he was linked with West Ham. He's been in the England squad. Fortunately, same with Nick Pope. He's been in a struggling Burnley side that's been fighting relegations for season after season after season. You put Pope and James Tarkowski at better clubs, then potentially they'll look like better players. And I'm looking at Jamal Lascelles again tonight, Mark, and I'm thinking, is that Lascelles' last game at St James's Park? Maybe Tarkowski's his replacement.
I think there was talk of possibly Lascelles heading off to somewhere like Forest if Forest go up. So that would be a return from, wouldn't it? So, but again, I mean, he's come on tonight. He doesn't put a foot wrong.
No, he was steady.
But you know that there is a very real ceiling to what Lascelles will give you. Tarkowski is probably a level above. And I get some people won't like him.
He's not exactly an exciting name, is he?
I don't know he's off to Forest. That is something I had read, that there was the potential that Forest would come in from if Newcastle wanted to move him on. But I think Tarkowski does he come in as a very assured backup? He's going to be cheap. We are talking about just wages, aren't we? So if you do move Lascelles on, for example, if you can get 15 million for Lascelles, that's 15 million in a transfer kitty that you don't have now, and you bring in somebody to replace him for nothing that's probably a step above.
Like Sven Botman,
I'd agree.
As Ash is saying,
you want to go in for somebody like Botman or Diego Carlos, somebody in that ilk, that they're going to be that next level up. But you want solid backups. We saw tonight something so innocuous with Shaw that can happen.
And Shaw was brilliant again tonight. Before that happened again,
absolutely.
He gives you a different dynamic of bringing the ball out. And I think, as Ash rightly says there, if you can get a Botman in who can play a bit as well, he's your guy, isn't he? And then Shaw's maybe the backup to Botman. Do you know what I mean? And you've got that squad depth. And if you've got a backup for Shaw, Botman can do each other's job. If you have Tarkowski and Burn that can do each other's job, you've got cover, haven't you? Ample cover. And you can change your squad a bit when you need to.
There is, and I guess another thing we kind of saw that's been quite tan is the number of left-sided centre-backs that seem to be getting linked as well, and that seems to be...
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it?
Does that seem to be a link that you're looking at very much 2 players per position?
I think
so
it might
that
be.
You have one very good left-sided centre-back, there's a need for a second. You have Shaw, there's a need for a second, or there's need for another one to play in front of him, in which case there's your 4 if you've got some younger players around or somebody that you can bring in cheap to be your fifth, and then make some money off the others, that's probably the best business model for them to go into pre-season.
I think it's pretty clear as well, isn't it? No matter all the talk about the ridiculous Scrooge McDuck style piles of wealth that the owners have got, you know what I mean? They're going to be quite shrewd with the transfers. I think they're not going to have the pants pulled down. They're not going to have someone take the piss. I think, the whole talk about Lingard wanting to break our wage structure. Now, if that's true, it might be his brother, because his brother seems to be a real gobshite. And if I was Jesse, I'd put a lid on him quick. But I think, players like that, if they're going to just say, oh, well, Newcastle admitted I'm going to come in and double and treble what I was on at my old club, I don't think they're going to fall for that. It's probably for a future evermore. We are going to talk about what's going on with kind of Dan Ashworth and if that deal's still going to happen and everything else. But I think the owners have obviously been getting advice from somebody so these guys don't take the piss out of them, because they bought very well in January, no doubt. Great characters, as you rightly said, Mark. Trippier and Burn for, Christ, less than 30 million quid is unbelievable business. Unbelievable business. And them two have transformed our team, especially Burn, and I think going into the summer, if we have the same mentality, there's a lot of players out of contract, there's a lot of players that need to move, that are grown stale where they are, and I think Newcastle, like what you said there, you see War Flags, you see the project, you see Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe is a big draw now. People are looking at this guy, that fella who got Bournemouth relegated, Bournemouth relegated, as the old Baron of Bacon once said. This guy is one of the most exciting young managers in the Premier League now. And why wouldn't you want to go and play for him? Look what he's done with Joe Linton. Look what he's done with Kraft. Look what he's doing with the players. Why wouldn't you want to play for that guy?
He's a coach. That's it, and this is such a world away from Bruce, who was not a coach. He's definitely not a training ground coach. And you listen to Eddie Howe's interview in the press conference yesterday. He was talking. He's very much wants to be, on the training ground with the players and putting that work in. That's where he gets his results, and we've seen that.
Absolutely. Good shout by Larry there. God, we would be a threat from set pieces with them too. Mind you, I'm still shocked that Burn hasn't got one on target, really, has he? Has he got one on target yet from set pieces?
The funny thing is, he had a hand in, was it Bruno's goal at Southampton? I think he had a hand in.
Yes, he did. He headed it across, didn't he?
Yeah.
Bruno did that beautiful flick.
There is a part of Dan Burn that I get. He doesn't read the flight of a ball in the air very well.
Yes.
And I've seen that he gets caught a little bit underneath sometimes. I just think at corners, given his size, he should be doing a lot better. Coming back though, let's go
knocks it back.
Let's go to the Dan Ashworth thing. And I'd seen a couple of tweets earlier on that suggested that might be the start of June. That'll get announced. And then I know there was another couple that I'd seen that were looking at that possibly a new sponsor being announced around about the same time. So that'll probably bring in an influx of cash depending on who that is going to be. I'd imagine that's going to be something Saudi related.
You'd imagine so. But again, do you know what? Hey, that's the way it is. We'll talk about this more on Wednesday night show. But we had an owner for years who was dreadful.
That's exactly what I read
with corporate. Absolutely. Oh, is that what the Ash is on there? 3 million.
That's exactly what I read earlier. Yeah,
that's fair enough. But Mike Ashley did nothing in terms of bringing in revenue to this club for years. I mean, there was that amazing thread, Swiss Ramble on Twitter. If you ever see them, they're unbelievable. The facts and figures they put up. And he had said that because Mike Ashley gave so little in commercial revenue at Newcastle over the years, in a weird way, it's actually helped us not breach FFP with buying all these players. But there's no commercial deals really there of any kind of magnitude. So of course, if it is Aramco, Ash, the owners have.
You've obviously been reading the same stuff I've been reading, Ash, because that's exactly what I'd seen.
Yes. But the need to increase the commercial revenue in the club. The club is huge. The club is massive. It's a great way for these commercial partners to invest and put money in, and it only helps Newcastle United generate more revenue. Spread the name of the club around the world, all that kind of stuff. Mike Ashley didn't see that. All he saw was a big billboard for Sports Direct, didn't he? Do you know what I mean? So
it did. And let's go back to a well-known journalist that's a bit of I say journalist, that's a loose term for him. But this whole, the green and white shirt, the sponsorship, that sort of thing, all this commercial revenue. This isn't losing Newcastle's identity, as he put. I'm not, I don't want to name him because he's a dick. I can't stand him. He's one of the biggest hypocrites in that sort of circle, isn't he?
He is.
But this isn't losing an identity, like we said to him in that response. It's a third kit at best. So it's going to be worn a couple of times during the season. It will bring in revenue for the club.
Scunthorpe away in the League Cup or something like that. That's when we'll wear it. Scunthorpe away in the League Cup.
It's not the home kit. It's not going to be worn at St James's Park. It's not. It's going to be worn a couple of times away from home, probably if that. So just do one. I can't stand him, and it drives me insane.
But you know what I think of him as well. I put it in my piece up on the blog. He's an absolute fucking wanker. So Jeff saying that every transfer window we've got to try and improve every position. I totally agree with that, Jeff. Interesting one from Ash there as well. Ash is flying in the comments tonight. Here's a question: would you mind a training ground rename? No, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't be particularly bothered about the training ground. The stadium, obviously, don't rename that as old Fat Boy did, because that was just pissing in the face of every Newcastle fan going, and the heritage of the club.
That was done on purpose.
Of course it was.
That was vindictive.
That was done by that fat cockney wank. And thank God we'll never we'll saw the back of him. And I just hope that Christ for Derby's sake he doesn't buy them. But I've got no problem with them renaming the training ground. There's no issue with that at all. Really, I think they'll build a new training ground anyway. I know they're going to extend the one currently, but I think the long-term goal is probably to build a new one wherever that venue may be. There's rumours of Gosforth Park, wasn't there? There's rumours of some other land areas that they've probably got bids in to buy, I'd imagine. But much like players, I imagine the people who own the land are probably whacking their prices up. Now they know the new owners are involved with a lot of wealth. So I'd have no problem renaming the training ground, mate. What about you, Mark? What's your take on that?
I wouldn't have an issue with it at all if it's like you're not naming something that is absolutely sacred to the club. Yeah. You are naming a part of. Again, it comes down to something that can generate a little bit of revenue for you, and if that's the case, then so be it. Nobody's going to bat an eyelid at the training background being called the Aramco.
The Aramco complex or something like that.
Something like that. Who cares? St James Park is sacred. You don't change that. Football grounds shouldn't have their unless you move into a new stadium, then that's fine. But if you're in a historic stadium, they should never be changed. They should be given that status where that name just cannot change. It is part of the community of the city. It doesn't matter what city you're in, it just is part of that. It's part of the club's heritage. That should be sacred. So I would have massive issues with that. But a training ground, anything like that, no, I really couldn't be bothered about that. Name what you want.
I don't think that, but as Ash rightly says there, they'll wear the strip on the Saudi trip 100%. Of course they will. Ash is also saying, where the Newcastle fans should feel ashamed when Ashley took us millions out of the club. You're right, mate. Yeah, there wasn't much of an uproar there, especially in the mainstream media. They were very quick to call him a clever businessman. And good shout out, Paul, in the comments, mate. Thanks for tuning in, mate. If you haven't already, please subscribe, bud. But a brilliant performance, unbelievable from every single player. I don't think there's one player in there that you would say had a bad performance. I just think they were unbelievable. That they were so up for the game. It's I think I said that, as I mentioned, we were kindly asked to come on an Arsenal podcast prior, a different knock, really good lads. I had a good chat with Brad, and he had asked me on the pod, didn't he, Mark? He had said, what should we be worried about this Newcastle team? And I just said, it's that press, as you rightly called, mate, at the start. We hunt in packs, we go after you in numbers, and that's exactly what we did tonight. Every possible opportunity that we had, and the Arsenal players just, one of the better words, they just shit it, didn't they? They bottled it.
Yeah, they've got that in them though, haven't they? And I guess they're still a young side growing and stuff, but they very much looked like a team that was almost scared to try and provide. They looked terrified of losing ground, and I think that the game last week's taken an awful lot out of them. They got a hiding against Spurs. It was a bit of a shambles. I mean there was a moment in that second half when Arteta looked lost. He did. I think he totally did. I saw somebody else tweet it from another couple that said it very rarely works when a manager starts throwing players on and swapping positions all over the place. And it looked panicked. He didn't know what to do to stop Newcastle press. Didn't know how to get around it. He looked completely bereft of ideas.
He was shell shocked, wasn't he? Really? And do you know, Ash has got a fair shout there in the comments. I did think the ref was a bit soft at times. I think, especially with Wilson when he was using his strength. I think when Wilson was using his strength, a lot of the times I think he did give a lot of free kicks away. But if you wanted a true representation of how that game was going for Arsenal, you just had to look at Gabriel's face. He was fucking raging, wasn't he? He was screaming at the rest of his teammates. Every time we attacked, he was going, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah, Jeff, 10 out of 10 for Bruno. It's hard to disagree, mate. He was unbelievable. But, I think your senior Arsenal players in that young lineup, likes of Gabriel, he couldn't understand why his colleagues weren't, his teammates weren't stopping this press. Smith Rowe was poor. We totally nullified Smith Rowe. He was practically non-existent, and he's a really talented young player. But
somebody who was so threatening at times during certainly the early part. He's gone off the boil a little bit, but he did absolutely nothing tonight.
Yeah,
nothing. Saka had a couple of moments that when he started to cut in from that right hand side, but again it was a couple, and that was it.
Yeah. Ian in the comments. Yeah, I don't know if he's an Arsenal fan, mate. Very nice of you to say we did deserve it, mate. If you are an Arsenal fan, you'll come back stronger, mate. I'm sure. But we were brilliant tonight. We really fancied that. And Ash is saying Eddie Howe's brilliance. What was that saying? Rectified. Wrecked Miguel. Sorry, wrecked Miguel Arteta tactically. Sorry, you're right. Absolutely, mate. And Arteta's a really good coach. He's really tactically aware. He spent time with Pep. He's a very decent coach. He's had a really, really good season. Oh, sorry, Ian, he's a Liverpool fan. Sorry, buddy. I take it back, mate. Sorry, I thought you were being a classy Arsenal fan there. But now listen, mate. Hey, Aston Villa could do you a job, mate, and you'll be bouncing if they do you a job. But yeah, I think again, it's just another example, isn't it, Mark, of how good Eddie Howe is as a coach. To go into a big game like that where everyone's saying, this is Arsenal's game to win. Even Gary Neville, weirdly enough, said at half-time, couldn't get my head around this. He said, Arsenal have been poor, but I think they're in a good position to win this game. And I could feel Carragher looking at him going, fuck you talking about? Because we were all saying the same thing, like, what the fuck is he talking about? And I don't know whether he had a 5 on Arsenal or something, Gary, but he got that way wrong, because the second half came out and they were shite again and we steamrolled them. It should have been about 3 or 4-0, mate, to be honest with you, when you look at it.
I think looking at it, you go in and you think if Newcastle had taken those chances or taken a little bit more chances first half, then the game would have been away from them, but they were still in it. And I don't think he thought that Arsenal could have as bad a second half. And to be fair, they got a lot more of the ball. And the kind of possessions that swapped over. So Newcastle were 60, 67 or 8% in the first half. And Arsenal had 65 in the second half. So they kind of swapped over, but it's what Arsenal did with it, which was very, very little. And Newcastle showed exactly what they could do with the ball. And again, they used it to its full effect. That second half was just a very good at soaking up pressure and then pouncing. And again, I'll go back. I cut myself off, I think, with my broadband earlier, but that ball from Maxi down the left-hand side of Joe Linton, a lot of credit has to go for Maxi to actually taking one for the team at that point and going, yeah, there is somebody in a better position here. I'm going to play the ball and not try and skin somebody, when there was acres of space for him to try and do that.
Well, that's interesting. But a bit of Gary Neville bashing going on. Ash saying Neville is a prick. Also, how has turned us into bullies? Absolutely, mate. We really don't get scared of these teams anymore, which is brilliant. Oh, sorry, mate. You clicked on that at the same time. Sorry. Gary Neville's an idiot. He talked nonsense for ages. I like Neville, Ian, but yeah, he did talk a lot of shite, and I couldn't believe that. And I think I've got another couple of comments there, Marty, bashing him up. So Ash is saying he's glad Channel 4 got footy off Sky. He's overpaid by his pricks. I have a job. Yeah, we did a few pieces. If you check our website out, guys, it's at Evermore NUFC. It's in the Twitter handle. Just have a check it out. We did an article years ago, a few months ago. Mark did one about shit pundits. It's absolutely superb. Check that out. Paul saying only disappointment in the way commentators. Do you know what? You're right, mate. Mark said that right at the start of the show. Longstaff's pass for the second goal was brilliant, and they didn't say fuck all about it, did they? They just talked about Wilson's work rate and Bruno's finish.
But again, it kind of comes down. Who do they have doing the commentary in it? It's Alan Smith. It comes.
Christ,
you're going to get this, and I said this. Was it last week? Was it the Spurs Arsenal game? And I said something. It just reminded me of every time that there was a time where Derby Sky rolled out Niall Quinn.
Oh God, yeah. That was Carragher. Yeah, Carragher you were talking about. Carragher, Liverpool, I think you were saying.
And you've got a totally biased opinion from that. You need somebody that can give you insight, but is gonna play the neutral pundit game and not somebody who is just. I mean, you could biased. Almost hear Smith's horror at what was going on the field, and granted that was quite funny, but.
The only time I've ever seen Smith look like he was alive was when he did that thing with Laura Woods the other week when he nearly went in for the kill on the TV, which was probably the coolest thing he's done in years. To be fair, commentators make mistakes, but referees in this game have been shambles. Yeah, the referees have been poor all season, mate. And Ash, yeah, you're right, mate. It was KDB style that pass. If Kevin De Bruyne did that pass, the commentators would be wanking about it now still. But because it was Sean Longstaff, they just didn't bother saying anything. Do you know what I mean? But you're totally right, guys. I mean. Great comments tonight. We're all buzzing. I mean, what a performance. Absolutely unbelievable. I have one thing to say, bring on next season. Well said, Mark. Do you know what? It's just class to be excited about it, isn't it? I mean, we've got loads planned in the close season, guys. Make sure you stay checking out the channel. We've got loads of stuff planned. We're going to talk about our end of season review, our squad kind of scores, more transfer talks. We're going to maybe have a bit of our all-time 11s as well in there just to kind of get through those summer months. So definitely keep it ever more, guys, and subscribe if you haven't already, because we'll have plenty more to go through as well there. So we've got some more comments there, Mark, as well. I'm bashing a couple of Yeah, I wanted off today.
No surprise that we didn't mind them losing too, so there you go.
Yeah, wait till win the league and everybody's crying. Do you know? It's funny because we're watching FA Cup final at the weekend. And I think a few Newcastle fans, a few of the boys at Evermore said this. I know Lee did. They can't wait until we're playing those games. Those FA Cup finals again. Just watching Chelsea and Liverpool in that game. You were just salivating, thinking, I can't wait till we're in that mix. Once again. And if Eddie Howe manages to win a trophy for this club, this place is going to go insane. I mean, look at that display at the start of the game tonight, and we're 14th, as many has said. To have that at 14th in the table. Could you imagine what it'd be like if we won a cup, Mark? My God, the whole city would shut down, wouldn't it? Bloody
it would be under an enormous amount of alcohol, I would feel. Yeah, there might be a flood.
You've got to pull up Ash's greatest 11 there. I think that's absolutely a superb 11. That's going to get a lot of goals.
Yeah. I think there's goals, there's definitely goals on that side, aren't there?
There's goals on that side, mate. There's absolutely goals on that side, to be fair. But honestly, what a result tonight. I mean, God, we normally only do about half an hour on the review. We've been on over an hour, guys. So your comments have been keeping us steamrolling on here. So thank you so much for them. And I think we're about ready to wrap up. Probably Mark as well, Allan. But as I said at the start, go on. Sorry, as I said, if you haven't subscribed already, hit that button, guys. We'll absolutely love you to jump on board. We'll be back with the lads on Wednesday. Forevermore, we'll do a little bit on this game. Obviously, we'll talk about the two transfer links. We'll take one look at Burnley as well, and we're also going to obviously cover that green and white top that everybody's so keen to talk about as well, and just give our take on it. But until then, guys, I think that's us pretty much wrapped up. Let's keep supporting that team. We'll call United. Thank you so much for all your comments, and we'd love to see you back on Wednesday for some more Evermore, and we'll catch you later.
Thanks, guys. Take care.